Welcome to Storied Branches, where we uncover the fascinating lives and legacies of remarkable individuals who've shaped our history. I'm your host, Lamar Matthews, and today we're diving into an extraordinary story of faith, courage, and pioneering spirit. I'm thrilled to welcome our special guest, Erastus Bingham, whose life journey takes us from the Green Mountains of Vermont to the challenging frontiers of the American West. Erastus's story is particularly fascinating because it embodies the very essence of early American pioneering spirit, a tale of religious conviction, unwavering determination, and community building. In the next few minutes, we'll explore how a Vermont farmer became a key figure in the Mormon migration west, helped establish thriving communities in Utah, and left a lasting legacy that continues to influence generations. We'll uncover the personal trials, triumphs, and transformative experiences that shaped not only his life, but the lives of countless others.
Thank you for having me, Lamar. I'm looking forward to sharing my story with your listeners.
Erastus, let's start at the beginning. You were born in Vermont in 1798. What was life like for your family in those early years?
Well, Lamar, I was born in Concord, Vermont, to Sarah Perry and Elisha Warner Bingham. My parents were hardworking farmers, and we lived a simple but meaningful life in those beautiful Green Mountains. My father taught me the value of honest work from a very young age.
Vermont must have been quite different in those days. What are some of your earliest memories of growing up there?
The landscape was untamed and magnificent. We worked the land from sunrise to sunset, and everyone in the family had their role. I was one of 7 children, and we learned quickly that survival depended on cooperation and determination. The winters were particularly harsh, but they taught us resilience.
How did your early family life shape your character and values?
My parents were deeply principled people. They instilled in us a strong work ethic and the importance of education, despite our modest means. My mother, Sarah, was particularly focused on ensuring we understood the value of both practical skills and book learning. She would often gather us around in the evenings to read and discuss various subjects.
That's fascinating. Did your family's farming background influence your later life decisions?
Absolutely. Those early years of farming taught me skills that proved invaluable throughout my life, not just in agriculture, but in leadership and community building. We learned to be resourceful, to plan for the future, and most importantly, to rely on each other. These lessons became the foundation for everything I would later accomplish.
Now, Erastus, I understand there was a significant turning point in your life when you encountered the Mormon faith. Can you tell us about that transformative experience?
Yes, Lamar. It was in 1833 when I first heard about the restored gospel. Mormon missionaries came through our area in Vermont, and their message immediately resonated with me. What struck me most was the clarity of their doctrine and the powerful testimony they bore of the Book of Mormon.
What was it specifically about their message that drew you in?
The teachings about eternal families and modern-day revelation deeply touched my heart. Having been raised with strong Christian values, I recognized truth when I heard it. My wife Lucinda and I studied the Book of Mormon together, and after sincere prayer and contemplation, we knew this was the path we needed to follow.
That must have been quite a dramatic change for your family. How did others react to your conversion?
It wasn't easy at first. Some family members and neighbors were skeptical, even hostile, but we felt such a strong conviction that we couldn't deny it. We were baptized in 1833, and from that moment, everything in our lives took on new meaning and direction.
How did joining the church affect your daily life and future plans?
It completely transformed our perspective. We soon felt the call to gather with the saints in Kirtland, Ohio. This meant leaving behind everything we knew, our home, our extended family, our established way of life. But we felt such peace about the decision. The gospel gave us a broader vision of our purpose here on earth.
You mentioned Kirtland. What was it like, making that decision to leave Vermont and join the gathering of the saints?
It required immense faith, Lamar, but we felt strongly that we were part of something much bigger than ourselves. The prospect of helping build up Zion, of being part of this restored gospel movement, it filled us with purpose and determination, despite the uncertainties ahead.
Now let's talk about your journey west. After gathering with the saints, you faced some incredible challenges during the Mormon migration. Could you share what that experience was like?
The journey west was unlike anything we'd ever experienced, Lamar. When we left Nauvoo in 1846, we had 8 children with us. The youngest was just 2 years old. We faced brutal winter conditions, scarce food, and constant uncertainty.
How did you manage to keep your family's spirits up during such difficult times?
We relied heavily on our faith and the strength we drew from fellow saints. I was appointed as a captain of 10 wagons, which meant I had responsibility not just for my own family, but for others as well. We'd gather in the evenings to sing hymns, share what little food we had, and comfort one another.
Were there any particularly memorable moments from that journey?
One incident stands out vividly. We were crossing a treacherous river, and one of our wagons got stuck in the current. The whole company came together, men wading into the freezing water, women passing ropes, children gathering on the banks to pray. That kind of unity in the face of adversity, it's something I'll never forget.
It sounds like these trials brought out the best in people. What was your role in helping the company move forward?
Besides leading my 10 wagons, I often scouted ahead to find suitable camping grounds with good water and grazing for our animals. My experience as a farmer proved invaluable. We also had to hunt for food, repair wagons, and sometimes stop for days or weeks to let the animals rest and regain strength.
And eventually you made it to the Salt Lake Valley. What was that moment like?
When we finally laid eyes on the valley in 1847, after months of travel, the emotion was overwhelming. Despite all we'd been through, the hunger, the cold, the loss of dear friends along the way, we knew we'd been preserved for a purpose. This was our promised land, and we were ready to build something new.
After arriving in the valley, you played a significant role in establishing new communities. Tell us about those early settlement days.
Well, Lamar, shortly after arriving, I was called to help establish what would become Weber County. We settled in an area that's now Ogden, and I'll tell you, those first few years were all about basic survival and building from scratch.
What were some of your first priorities in building the settlement?
Our immediate focus was getting shelters built and crops planted. I helped organize the construction of a fort for protection, and we worked together to develop irrigation systems. The soil was different from what we knew in Vermont, so we had to learn new farming techniques.
I understand you also took on leadership roles in the community?
Yes, I served as the first bishop of Weber County, which meant I was responsible for both spiritual and temporal affairs. We had to ensure everyone had enough to eat, organize labor for public projects, and help integrate new settlers as they arrived.
How did you manage to build such a strong community in those challenging conditions?
The key was cooperation, Lamar. Everyone contributed what they could. I helped establish the first schools, organized work parties for building homes, and worked to fairly distribute water rights. My wife Lucinda was instrumental too, helping newcomers get settled and teaching valuable skills to other women.
Were there particular challenges you faced in those early years of settlement?
We faced severe winters, cricket infestations that threatened our crops, and the constant challenge of expanding our infrastructure to accommodate growth. But what I remember most is how people came together. When someone's crop failed, others shared their harvest. When a family needed a home, the whole community turned out to help build it.
That's quite remarkable. It sounds like you were building more than just physical structures.
Exactly right. We were building a community in every sense of the word. Every decision we made, whether it was about water rights or where to build the meeting house, was made with the entire community in mind. That's what made us strong.
As we wrap up our fascinating conversation today, I can't help but reflect on the incredible legacy you've left behind, Erastus. Your story embodies the pioneering spirit that helped build the American West.
Thank you, Lamar. I suppose the greatest legacy isn't in the buildings or roads we constructed, but in the community values we established. The principles of cooperation, resilience, and faith that guided us then are still relevant today.
One thing that really stands out to me is how you balanced personal conviction with community needs. What wisdom would you share with our listeners from your experiences?
Remember that no one builds anything worthwhile alone. Every success I achieved was through working together with others. And when times get tough, that's when community matters most. Hold fast to your principles, but always be willing to lend a helping hand.
Those are powerful words to live by. Your story reminds us that true leadership isn't just about making decisions, but about bringing people together for a common purpose.
That's right. And I hope future generations remember that the foundations we laid weren't just physical, they were spiritual and social too.
Thank you so much for sharing your remarkable story with us today. To our listeners, thanks for joining us for another episode of Storied Branches. Until next time, keep exploring your own family history, and remember that every branch has a story worth telling.